We have House Committee on Women and Gender Equality Chairperson and Bataan Representative Geraldine B. Roman. House Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs Chairperson and Tingog Party List Representative Jude A. Asidre. And House Assistant Majority Leader and ako Bicol Party List Representative Raul Gil Bungalon. Okay, before we begin the question and answer portion of our press conference, let us give the floor to Ma'am Geraldine Roman for the group's opening remarks.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat sa mga members of the press who are present here today. We look forward to listening to and hearing your questions and answering them. A few issues that concern our people, mga Filipino. Of course, this includes yung ating edukasyon at saka ating healthcare. So maraming salamat muli.
Thank you, ma'am. Let us recognize Kat Forbes from Radyo Pilipinas for today's first question.
Good morning po, Kongs. Hingi lang po sana ako ng statement or reaction ninyo regarding po dito sa inilabas na pahayag po ni Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin na hindi nga po matutuloy yung supposedly December 20 na paglagdaan ng Pangulo sa ating 2025 national budget dahil inaaral pa po ito at inaasahan po na meron pong mga i-veto daw ang Pangulo natin. Ano po ang inyong reaksyon? At kung maari na lang din po, maibahagi din po yung proseso. Paano po mangyayari pag may na-veto? Ano po yung magiging sunod na hakbang? Para lang po maintindihan din po ng taong bayan.
Okay, thank you for that question. Again, good morning. We respect the decision of the Office of the President. Yung nakatalaan na supposedly December 20 schedule for the signing of the General Appropriations Bill will be rescheduled for the purpose of conducting an exhaustive and rigorous review of the final version as approved by the Bicameral Conference Committee and ratified by the Senate as well as the House of Representatives. You know, under the Constitution, the President can exercise his veto power in all laws being passed by Congress. So malinaw ho dito na we are under the democratic country at yung final na version as approved by the both panels is not yet final dahil nga ho ay ito po ay nire-review. You know, under the budget process for a general appropriations bill to become law, kailangan po lagdaan ng ating pong Pangulo. O kung hindi niya po ito lalagdaan, yung tinatawag nating lapse into law. So with that, I guess he will exercise his veto power. And under the process, magko-communicate po ang ating presidente sa ating pong Kongreso. That through a letter, he will communicate by expressing his veto message. Of what we call veto message, wherein he will specifically mention the particular line items to be vetoed. So yun po yung proseso natin under the budget process. And under the Constitution then, the Congress can also exercise the power of overriding the veto power of the President. But I guess we cannot tell more about the overriding because, again, me personally, I will respect the decision, the wisdom of the Office of the President, considering that there's a need to really review the final version of the budget.
Welcome ang desisyon ng Pangulo na ipa-review muli yung budget natin. Ito ay nagpapatunay na sensitive ang ating Pangulo sa panawagan ng taong bayan. Bagamat merong justifikasyon kung bakit the budget for certain items like education and PhilHealth were approved as such. I think there is a clamor from many sectors in society, who may not fully understand the rationale, the reasons kung bakit naging ganun yung ating allocations for education and sa PhilHealth. At this only proves that the President prioritizes education and he recognizes its role in nation building. So I think that Congress, I don't think, will even question yung veto power ng ating Pangulo. And they will just look into the specific items that the President wants reviewed. So kudos sa ating Pangulo. At we look forward to a better. Alam mo, lahat naman namang bagay sa mundo na-improve naman yan, di ba? We just have to listen to one another. And this is the good thing under this administration. People are free to express what they want to say without fear. And we can work on things. And we can work for the improvement of our national budget. Kong Jude?
I just want to add, it's also good to put in context na hindi po kakaiba itong pangyayari na binibigyan panahon ng ehekutibo ang pag-review pa ng report ng forma ng budget na inaprubahan ng Bicameral Conference Committee at nang niratify ng dalawang kapulungan ng Kongreso. In as much that it is Congress' duty to approve the budget, in the end, it is the President's duty also to execute the budget. And his inputs, his wisdom, as well as his priorities will play a big role. And clearly, in the way that we are reviewing now the budget at the executive level before it is signed, it's only an indication that the President is dutiful about exercising his role in the budget-making process. Ito po'y senyales na nasa isang malusog at masigasig tayong demokrasya. Katulad niya ng sinabi ng kagalang-galang na Geraldine Roman, ngayong panahon, malaya po tayong magpahayag ng ating mga saloobin, ng ating mga pagpuna sa mga ginagawa ng ating halal na mga opisyal. At dito po, ang Kongreso ay nakikinig, ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas ay nakikinig, at sa patuloy po na ugnayang na dalawang sangay ng ating gobyerno, ay we all hope, and I'm sure Congress and the President are one, in providing a budget that will not only address the needs of Filipinos, but also satisfy the need to ensure efficiency in public service and public spending.
Thank you po. Matanong ko na lang din po si Kong Jude. Medyo naging mainit po yung mata ngayon nung ilan dito po sa inyong programa po yung Maalagang Republika, Rural Financing Health Development Program with PhilHealth and DBP. For the record po, ano po ba talaga yung role ngayon ng tingog dito sa programa na ito kasi kayo po yung pinupulaan?
Well, just to give you context of what it is all about. Hindi naman kaila sa atin ng isa sa pinakamalaking problema ng ating healthcare system ay ang kakulungan ng mga hospital. Hindi man siguro ito ganun kalaking problema sa national hospitals kasi nandyan naman ang DOH, nandyan naman ang national budget. Challenge po ito sa mga tinatawag nating local government-run hospitals. Lalong-lalo na kasi sa ating sistema, devolved function po ang healthcare. Ibig sabihin, mga probinsya ang nagpapatakbo ng mga provincial at district hospitals, mga bayan naman ang nagpapatakbo ng municipal hospitals. Dahil dito, hindi nagiging ganon ka-prioridad ang expansion ng ating mga local government hospitals dahil po sa limitadong fiscal space na nakalaan sa ating budget at sa marami pang prioridad ng ating pamahalaan. Sa tingin lang ng tingog, ito po'y hindi pwede nating ipasawalang bahala. Kaya naghanap po tayo ng paraan. Paano kaya mapopondohan itong mga pangangailangan, lalo na for expansion ng ating LGU hospitals? At nakita natin na sa ngayon, may existing na po na programa ang Development Bank of the Philippines. Tinanong natin ng Development Bank of the Philippines, yung mga pinapautang yung hospital, ilan ba dyan ang local government run? Sabi nila, halos wala akong umuutang na LGU. Sabi namin, bakit? Ang sabi, may agam-agam po ang LGU, hindi ganun kakampante pag umutang ho. So nakita natin na ang financing ng ating healthcare really is significantly dependent on reimbursement by PhilHealth. So sabi natin, kung si PhilHealth magbabayad on time at ng sakto, meron sanang pambayad si LGU para sa sa kanilang utang sa hospital. So yun po yung naayos talaga natin. Pero ang tanong palagi ng LGU, utang na kami, pero ang tanong, kung ang dami hong requirements, merong hospital development plan, merong operational at feasibility studies, paano ho namin yung gagawin? And if you're talking about third and fourth class municipalities, hindi po madaling requirements ang mga to para sa kanila. So doon po tayo pumapasok. Hindi dahil ang Tingog ay eksperto sa mga bagay na to, kundi may kapasidad po tayo bilang kinatawan ng mga tao to create convergence among experts, among government agencies, na nakaka-create tayo ng sustainable at self-sustaining na mekanismo para sa pag-finance ng mga hospital infrastructure, lalo na sa kanayunan. Pero in the light of, i-announce ko po ito, in the light of recent events, kasi we have to remember that the program has been developed with the goal of building confidence among LGUs para sila magkaroon ng lakas ng loob na pumunta sa DBP. Pero nakakalungkot po na nitong mga nakaraang araw ay binabatikos po yung programa. Meron po mga pagpuna na minsan unfair criticism na po. May isang senador po na gumawa ng privilege speech na hindi lang naman ho itinama ang mga laman ng kanyang sinabi. Merang isang nagpapakilalang eksperto na wala nang ibang sinabi na pagpuna pero wala namang binigay na solusyon o alternatibo. Nakita namin na hindi na makakatulong ang patuloy na partisipasyon ng Tingog sa programang ito. Bagamat sinusuportahan pa rin namin ang inisyatibong tulungan ng ating mga LGU, kagabi po nagpulong po yung mga opisyal po ng Tingog Party List at nag-decide po kami to take a step back and to withdraw from the MOA. So we decided that siguro in a better time, if not, we leave it to the agencies to really look into this as a solution. But nonetheless, we remain committed. Gayon niya yung sinabi ko sa privilege speech, marami namang paraan. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Pag gusto mong tumulong, marami palaging paraan. Yung mahilig maghanap ng pupunain, kahit anong gawin mo, may ipupuna. Sana makita na lang ho ng mga kababayan natin kung sino po yung gumawa, sino po yung hanggang puna lang po.
Ari ko bang susugan yung sinabi ni Kong Jude, ano? It's really difficult, no? Na i-level up namin yung ating mga district hospitals. To give you an idea, para mangyari yun, we even have to legislate. And the legislative process is napakahaba. At kahit mapasa na ito sa batas, maghahanap ka pa ng pondo sa DOH, sisingit ka, makikiusap pa na i-prioritize ito. Eh yun naman pala, for the longest time, meron na pala pamamaraan. So, kung hindi mag-i-initiate, ayaw na ang Tingog dito sa initiative na to, I hope somebody else will take the initiative, Kong Jude, kasi...
Natanong po sa amin yan, bakit daw Tingog ang nakaisip? Yan din ho ang tanong namin nung nakita namin yung mekanismo, nung nakita namin kung yung pangangailangan, di ba? Nandyan nga yung, in fact, I remember when we made the first presentation, ang unang sinabi ng Pangulo ng DBP, bakit ngayon lang natin ginagawa ito? Siguro, nagkataon lang na kami yung nakaisip, kaya ho tayo naging masigasig sa pagsulong nito. And that's what is unfortunate with all the political noise, no? Hindi ho namimili sa ngayon eh. Kahit may magandang objective, may magandang layunin, eh minsan nalulunod po sa ingay ng politika. At sana ho, last casualty na po kami sa ingay na sinimulan at hindi pa rin natatapos.
Do you have another follow-up, Kat? No more? Okay, thank you, Kat. You are acknowledged, Mela. Please proceed with your questions.
Hi, good morning po mga Kong. Sundan ko lang dun sa naging paliwanag din ni Kong Asidre dun sa PhilHealth issue. Kahapon kasi humarap din po sa pagdinig ng Kamara yung mga opisyal ng PhilHealth and maraming ang na-discuss mula dun sa commitment na nakuha natin na ibababa nila yung contribution rates to yung hospital coverage i-expand din nila. Kayo po ba, kontento po kayo dun sa mga naging pahayag, paliwanag ng PhilHealth kahapon? At moving forward, gaano makakatulong itong mga natalakay kahapon sa ating mga kababayan?
Well, ako una for me, no, naliwanagan ako na The problem did not happen overnight. Yun ang pinaka-importante. Siguro sa pangunawa natin sa problema sa PhilHealth, nakita natin na hindi ho nagsimula ang problema na to sa nakaraang taon lang, kundi nandun na po yung problema to dahil napabayaan ho ang PhilHealth ng mga naunang administrasyon. Katulad doon ng sinabi ni President Ledesma kahapon, 12 taon po na hindi ni-review ang ating case rates ng PhilHealth. So ibig sabihin, since 2012, kung ano yung binabayaran ng PhilHealth sa bawat pagkakasakit, sa bawat package, no, yun pa rin ang binabayaran for the next 12 years until this year, until February of this year. So makikita natin, kasi tinanong ko kahapon, ilang taon ba dapat, how often do we review? Dapat nire-review po every 3 years. Pero sa buong 6 na taon, lalong-lalo na ng Duterte administration, kasi po yung panahon na yun, nagkaroon ho tayo ng public health emergency, in fact, a global health emergency. Sana ho naging masigasig yung unang administrasyon sa pag-update ng ating PhilHealth packages. Pangalawa ho, nakita ho natin ang kawalan ng maayos at matatag na pamunuan sa PhilHealth nitong nakaraang mga taon, lalong-lalo na noong panahon ng nakaraang administrasyon. 6 na taon po na nakaupo si Duterte, 6 din ang kanyang naging Pangulo ng PhilHealth. Katulad nung in-explain ni President Ledesma kahapon, napakahirap na magkakaroon ka ng isang presidente ng PhilHealth every year. So nakita natin at alam naman natin kanino nang gagaling ang leadership ang leadership direction sa mga ahensya ng national government ay yan pinanggagaling sa Pangulo nung nakaupo nun. At pangatlo po, may nakita ho ako nag-increase sa PhilHealth nung panahon nung Duterte administration. Nakita ko po tumaas ang sweldo ng mga executive officers ng PhilHealth. Nung panahon ng pandemya, imagine nyo po, yung benefits natin hindi lumaki, pero ang sweldo ng mga taga-PhilHealth na executive officers nag-triple po. Ako ang point ko lang po dito is, una, sana matuto tayo sa mga mali at pabayaan ng mga nakaraang administrasyon at binabantayan po natin si President Ledesma na alam naman ho natin ang direksyon ng ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at pakikipagtulungan ng ating Speaker na ayusin ang PhilHealth. Na pag nagpauna na po sila, meron silang 30% adjustment ng case rates pero sinasabi ko kahapon, Sir, inflation adjustment pa lang ho yan. Kasi kung 12 years po tayong hindi nagtaas ng case rates, ibig sabihin kung ang cost ng inflation every year is 3%, 36% na po ng case rates ang hindi po ng inflation rate 36%, halos nabawi lang natin yung inflation adjustment nung ating yung dinagdag natin na expansion. So we're looking forward to his commitment to, despite na walang subsidy, magkaroon ho ng case rate adjustment ulit 50% next year. Malaking bagay po itong building ng efficiency sa PhilHealth. Kasi po, kung makikita nyo sa PhilHealth, hindi naman naging problema ang kawalan ng pondo. Hindi naging problema ang kawalan ng pera. Ang problema, nagkaroon ng dissatisfaction at frustration ng mga tao kasi hindi po nagre-reflect sa benepisyo nila yung perang binabayaran nila as premium. At nung nakita nila kung gaano karami ang pera pa na hinahawakan ng PhilHealth, nagtatanong ang taong bayan, nagtatanong ang Kongreso, anong gagawin nyo sa pera nyo? Tapos ganito lang kaliit ang nakatanggap naming benepisyo. Ganito kalaki naman ang binabayaran naming premium. Kaya magandang balikan. And this is the thing I want to stress. It's important to ensure accountability. Kasi lalong-lalo na nung panahon ng pandemya na pinabayaan ng PhilHealth, ito mangyari, kailangan may managot. Kasi po, marami pong kababayan natin ang nagkasakit, hindi ho nakakuha ng benepisyo nila. At merong iilan, I'm sure ho, with every inefficiency, meron pong nagbe-benefit. At kung sino man ang nag-benefit nun, kailangan managot po.
may I just add, without wanting to minimize yung responsibility ng mga current officials ng PhilHealth, in fairness naman sa kanila, it's really hard na palakarin ng maayos ang isang bagay na minana mo na rin, It's been more than 10 years. And yung poor utilization rate somehow may be attributed to that, But nevertheless, at this point, I think we have to look forward and pose this challenge dun sa ating PhilHealth officials na maybe this time you can spell a difference, bearing in mind that lahat ng tao ay nakatutok na, and bearing in mind yung mga limitations, mga pagkakamali ng nakaraan, I'm sure they're going to do a better job this time. And as I said, it's also a matter of managing people's expectations, When we passed the Universal Healthcare Act in the 17th Congress, ang expectation ng tao 100% na ang coverage, Pero the truth of the matter is that hindi naman kaya ng ating pamahalaan tustusan yung 100% na yun. But we're working towards there, and I think we're taking baby steps in the right direction. Kong Jill?
Well, if I just add, yesterday we started the briefing conducted by the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, wherein we invited guests from PhilHealth, DOH, and DBM, and other concerned agencies. So going back to the issue on PhilHealth, we appreciate the efforts of increasing the benefit package or the rate case, wherein PhilHealth committed to have an increase of 50%, by next month, 50% na po. Isa pa sa hiningi natin na commitment sa PhilHealth is that for them to decrease the premium contribution. Dahil malinaw ho sa batas. Sinasabi kasi kahapon na this year, nag-implement sila ng increase because that is primarily based on the law. Pero sinasabi rin sa batas na kung sobra-sobra ang pera ng PhilHealth, isa sa mga dapat gagawin nyo ay babaan ang PhilHealth contribution. And that is the commitment we asked from PhilHealth yesterday. And the President, through President Ledesma, committed na isa din po yan sa gagawin nila sa mga susunod na buwan. Isa pa, I would like to emphasize that it's now the best time for PhilHealth to act as an health insurer. Hindi naman sila negosyo. Sinasabi nga ng ating kasama, this is not a business enterprise. You are a service provider and therefore act as such. So yun yung nakita natin ngayon sa administrasyon po ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. I guess this is the legacy that the President would like to leave, especially to the 115 million members of PhilHealth, na ngayon pong mga darating na taon, mas lalong mararamdaman ang PhilHealth. Even without the subsidy from the government, sobra-sobra po ang pera ng PhilHealth. And anong gagawin natin sa pera? We really need to use it, and act as a health insurer upang mas malaki ang makikinabang at mababawas sa mga hospital expenses. Tignan natin, they have 150 billion in surplus. They have 280 billion reserve fund. Meron pa silang investable fund na 490 billion as of November 2024. So anong gagawin dito natin sa mga perang to? So I guess it's all about prioritization. Hindi naman natin priority ang investment. Priority natin ang expansion of healthcare benefits para sa ating pong mga kababayang Pilipino. So as committed by PhilHealth, kumbaga mas magiging effective, efficient, and makikita natin na meron pong mga pagbabago, malaking pagbabago ngayon sa PhilHealth.
Okay, thank you po. last question na lang po. Sulitin ko lang yung pagkakataon na nandito po si Kong Asidre. I understand may nilabas na po kayong statement kanina as a chairperson ng House Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs. Pero for the record and for a soundbite po, may I ask your views and even other Kongs din po pwedeng bahagi ng kanilang pahayag ukol sa pagbabalik bansa ni Mary Jane Veloso. And idagdag ko na lamang din po, may nakabinbin din kasi ditong resolution. I understand kay Kong Marisa Del Mar Magsino na for clemency kay Veloso. Ano po din yung pananaw nyo rito?
First, una, we'd like to welcome Mary Jane Veloso back to the Philippines. So we understand that these are rather still going to be a difficult phase in her personal journey, no? Pero alam naman natin, at the very least, ang pwede natin, we can be assured that as right now is because of the President incessant and persistent diplomatic efforts and also our friends from DFA, no? She is at the very least off from the death row. Wala na ho siya wala na po yung chance na mapatawan siya ng death penalty kasi wala hong death penalty sa ating bansa. At least, at the very least po. Alam ko merong mga nagpahayag po ang Indonesian government na bahala po ang ating gobyerno how to deal with kung may clemency man or kung ano, but until such time that the Department of Justice and the Department of Foreign Affairs would be more specific and indicative with their information, I would rather leave it to them first to explain anong pwedeng mangyari. Ang sa akin lang po bilang chairman ng House Committee on Overseas Worker Affairs, hindi lang ho si Mary Jane Veloso ang ganito ang sitwasyon. Hindi lang ho si Mary Jane Veloso ang OFW na nagkaroon ho ng problema sa legal na minsan sa mga paratang ng krimen, at marami pong Pilipino around the world ang nasa ganyang kalagayan. Ang sa akin lang ho, siguro ang hingilin natin ang matuto po tayo sa sitwasyon nito, especially in providing ready and accessible legal assistance for our OFWs. Sometimes something as simple as providing an interpreter can go a long way ensuring that they have their opportunity to a fair trial abroad, no. Hindi naman natin pinagsasawalang bahala yung any criminal liability or responsibility kung meron man, pero ang sa atin lang kung kahit saan man sila sa mundo, dapat ang every OFW ay magkaroon ho ng kaukulang tulong legal. Yun lang po, at protection po ng kanilang mga karapatan.
Mula po sa Committee on Women and Gender Equality, we welcome these developments. Nung isang araw po na-meet ko personally yung mother ni Mary Jane Veloso. And actually, I was trying to feel what she was feeling, no? Parang merong halo na pagka-nervyos and then looking forward na mag-reunite sila. And syempre, ito'y patunay dun sa dedication ng ating Pangulo na pangalagaan ang interes ng ating mga overseas Filipino workers. That said, hindi rin dapat nating kalimutan yung mga ibang mga nasa similar na situation. Naalala ko rin na when past administrations had practically given up on Mary Jane Veloso, it was President Marcos who insisted na dapat mapauwi siya. And I'm happy, we're very happy that at least isa pang pamilyang Pilipinong mabubuo kahit man lamang pang Noche Buena. Sa 24 balita ko, magkikita-kita sila and we share their joy. And we pray for Mary Jane Veloso.
Well, tungkol ho dun kay Mary Jane Veloso, unang-una, this is a positive development. For so many years na inaayos natin yung bilateral talks with the government of Indonesia para mapauwi po dito si Mary Jane Veloso. And it's for the time, no, sa panahon po ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos sa administrasyon niya na na-realize ito pong ating mithiin na mapauwi dito ang ating kababayan. Ang maganda ho dito ay ito yung nagpapakita na yung compassionate justice ay nananatili. And this is a result of an effort exerted by our government. And we appreciate also the Indonesian government for heeding our calls na mapauwi ho dito si Mary Jane Veloso. Ang maganda ho dito, dalawa, no? Unang-una, we were able to spare Mary Jane Veloso from the death row. Pangalawa, yung serving of sentence, no, for the said crime ay dito na niya po gugugulin sa ating bansa. So anong maganda ho doon? Maganda doon sapagkat mabibisita na po siya ng kanyang pamilya. Bagay na matagal na pong inaasam ni Mary Jane at ang kanyang pamilya na naiwan dito sa ating bansa na mangyari ang nasabi pong pangyayari. Anyway, doon po sa panawagan, if hindi ako nagkakamali, it was Representative Arlene Brosas who filed a resolution, or I guess magpa-file ng resolution asking for an executive clemency. No? So, you know, under the Constitution, one of the powers of the President is to grant an executive clemency. And it is solely a prerogative of the President. So, it is something that is subject to the wisdom of our President. So, whatever the decision is, we will respect the President about this matter.
Next is Jelly Mendez from DWIC. Please take the floor.
Sir, connected lang din po kay Miss Mela po, yung sa question. Kumpiyansa po ba tayo? Kasi nanawagan po si Mary Jane Veloso kay PBBM na payagan siya na magkaroon ng clemency. Kumpiyansa po ba tayo na pagbibigyan siya ni PBBM? And hindi po ba to maaabuso ng iba pang mga OFW na gumawa lang din ng krimen dahil tiwala naman sila na matutulungan din ng gobyerno?
I'm sure there were negotiations, no? There were stipulations sa agreement na hindi pa tayo ganun kamaalam sa ngayon. Kaya nga sabi ko kanina, antayin ko muna magsalita ang Secretary of Justice at ang Secretary of Foreign Affairs kasi sila po yung kaparte ng negosasyon para mapauwi po si Mary Jane Veloso. Of course, we all want justice served at the same time, diba? And then we also want to make sure that our Filipino citizens, wherever they are, whatever the situation is, they have the full protection of the law. And in this case, the President has already manifested and shown his concern. At hindi lang concern, sinigurado talaga niyang may uuwi sa Pilipinas. Ang malaking problema lang naman natin is sa Indonesia may death penalty. At ang kaparusahan sa crime kung saan nakitang guilty si Mary Jane Veloso ay kamatayan. Yun po sana yung gusto nating maiwasan. Kung magdidesisyon man ng Pangulo na bigyan ng clemency si Mary Jane Veloso, katulad ng sinabi ni Congressman Gil Bungalon, yun po ay magiging prerogatiba po ng ating Pangulo. At ang Kongreso po, kami po, we will listen to his wisdom. And siguro in the process, hindi man siguro ngayong taon, sa mga susunod na taon, no, there will be a chance to review the case because however it is, and this is a story that nangyayari sa maraming OFW sa ibang bansa. Well, they are also found guilty for alleged crimes. We cannot deny the fact that they are also victims of circumstance, di ba? At hindi natin pwedeng pabayaan ng ating mga kababayan sa ganong sitwasyon. Iyon po ang pinakita ng Pangulo. Pero at the same time, we have our commitments to follow. We have our own laws to uphold. Kaya sabi mo, sana hindi maabuso. At the same time will tell when is the best time to review and consider her case again.